Dear Luke, I was an only child who had everything I could ever want. But even I would get lonely once in a while. So when Mom told me she was pregnant, I was ecstatic. I imagined how wonderful you would be, and how we'd always be together, and how much you would look like me. So when you were born, I looked at your tiny hands and feet, and marveled how beautiful you were. When we went home, I showed you proudly to my friends. They would touch you, and sometimes pinch you, but you never reacted. When you were 5 months old, some things began to bother Mom. You seemed too unmoving and numb, and your cry sounded odd, almost like a kitten's. So we brought you to many doctors. The 13th doctor who looked at you quietly said you had Cookie-Doshi syndrome. When I asked what that meant, he looked at me with pity and softly said, your brother will never walk or talk. Mom was shocked, and I was furious. I thought it was unfair. When we went home, Mom took you in her arms and cried. When I looked at you, I realized word will get around that you're not normal. So to hold on to my popularity, I did the unthinkable. I disowned you, and I promised myself I would never love you. Mom never gave up on you. She knew she had to do it for your sake. She put you down, and you roll instead of crawl. I watched your heart break every time to strap your tummy with foam so you couldn't roll. You'd struggle and cry in a pitiful way, the cry of a kitten. But she still didn't give up. And one day, in spite of what the doctors had said, you crawled. When Mom saw this, she knew you would eventually walk. And one day, she saw you pull yourself up and toddle as fast as your little legs could carry you. Laughing and crying, she shouted for Dad and I to come. Dad hugged you, crying openly. I watched this heartbreaking scene from my window. Line. Over the years, she taught you to speak, read, and write. I would watch you go outside, smell the flowers, marvel at the birds, or simply smile at no one. I began to see the beauty of the world around me, the simplicity of life, and the wonders of this world through your eyes. It was then that I realized you were my brother, and no matter how hard I tried to hate you, I couldn't, because I had grown to love you. I would buy you toys and give you all the love a sister could give her brother. You would smile, and you reward me by smiling and hugging me. Line.
But I
guess you were really never meant for us. At your 10th birthday, you felt severe headaches. The doctor's diagnosis, leukemia. Mom gasped, and Dad held her while he fought so hard to keep my tears from falling. At that moment, I loved you all the more. I couldn't bear to leave your side. The doctor said the only solution was a bone marrow transplant. So you became the subject of a nationwide search. When they finally found a match, you were too sick. So as a doctor, I ruled any operations. You then underwent chemotherapy and radiation. Even at the end, you continued to pursue life. You had me make a list of all the things you wanted to do when you got out of the hospital. 2 days after the list was completed, you asked to go home. We ate cake and ice cream, ran across the grass, flew kites, went fishing, and even let balloons fly. Later at the hospital, you wanted to talk, but the words wouldn't come out. I knew what you wanted to say. I hear you, I whispered. I leaned a little closer and said, I love you and I'll never forget you. Don't be afraid, you'll soon be in heaven. With my tears flowing freely, I watched the bravest boy I had ever known take his last breath. Mom, Dad, and I cried until there was no tears left. Then, you were gone, leaving us behind. You taught me the most valuable lesson, to live life at its fullest, and you taught me to love. Thank you, my brother, your sister, Sarah.